Welcome to the Insight CPD series presented by Academic Action. The Insight CPD series brings top experts and institutions together. These sessions empower education professionals to enhance learning experiences and drive positive change within their institutions. If you would like to participate in our upcoming CPD sessions or explore collaboration opportunities, connect with us on LinkedIn or visit our website to register. For institutions interested in becoming part of our network and accessing exclusive opportunities, contact us today.
Bienvenidos a esta sesión de Academic Action. Cómo las universidades británicas fortalecen la internacionalización escolar. Antes que nada, queremos agradecer a todas las organizaciones que han hecho posible este espacio. Este evento cuenta con el apoyo de la Asociación de Colegios IB en Ecuador, ASCIBP, la Asociación de Colegios Andinos del IB en Colombia, ACPE, la Asociación de Colegios del Bachillerato Internacional en Perú, el Royal Grammar School de Wycombe en Inglaterra, la Universidad de Aberystwyth en Gales y la Universidad de Sheffield en Inglaterra. Mi nombre es Pablo Rizzo, soy director de operaciones de Academic Action, y para quienes no nos conocen, la Academic Action es una firma dedicada al desarrollo de la educación transnacional. Nuestro propósito es ampliar el acceso a la educación británica en América Latina a través de soluciones innovadoras, éticas y centradas en la comunidad. Nuestra misión es cerrar la brecha entre el Reino Unido y las instituciones académicas latinoamericanas, aceptando la colaboración, la formación docente, las oportunidades de crecimiento para los estudiantes. La sesión de hoy está dividida en 4 partes. La primera sección será en español. Comenzaremos con Sabrina Lawson, asistente del Royal Grammar School. Pasaremos después con Luis Sifuentes, presidente de la Asociación de Colegios IB en Perú, quien compartirán casos prácticos del éxito en los colegios británicos en Perú. Después pasaremos en inglés con Harriet Howse, Head of Global Engagement de la Universidad de Aberystwyth. Y al final tendremos una sesión con Matthew Harewood de la Universidad de Sheffield, hablando sobre el PGCE o PGCE International. Y con esto damos entonces inicio a nuestra primera sesión. Antes de comenzar, creo que es importante aclarar a qué nos referimos cuando hablamos de internacionalización. Es una palabra muy amplia y complicada que puede cambiar de contexto según su campo o sector profesional, pero en este caso, esta sesión y el trabajo que hace Academic Action, hablamos de la internacionalización de un enfoque práctico, un poco más humano en el sector educativo escolar y universitario, centrado en 3 dimensiones. Primero, el desarrollo de los estudiantes a través de experiencias internacionales que promueven su crecimiento personal. Segundo, la formación y proyección de los docentes, fortaleciendo sus competencias pedagógicas y su visión global en la parte de la educación. Y finalmente, el desarrollo institucional de los colegios en Latinoamérica, pero también de las universidades, por ambos lados, del Reino Unido y Latinoamérica. Así que cuando hablamos hoy de internacionalización, estaremos justamente refiriéndonos precisamente a ese enfoque de cómo las universidades británicas pueden convertirse en aliados estratégicos para abrir más oportunidades reales en la educación escolar en América. Y bueno, quiero comenzar esta sesión con la voz británica, el español. Esta vez no escucharemos una perspectiva desde el ángulo del espectador en Latinoamérica, sino desde dentro del sistema propio, desde la experiencia de quien vive y enseña y lidera en un contexto donde la educación británica es parte esencial de la vida diaria académica y cultural. Y para eso tengo el gusto de contar con Sabrina Lawson, Assistant Head y Directora de Enseñanza y Aprendizaje en el Royal Grammar School de Inglaterra, uno de los colegios más reconocidos del país, con casi 500 años de historia. Sabrina, muchísimas gracias por estar con nosotros.
Gracias. Pues te cuento un poquito sobre mí. Primero, me llamo Sabrina, soy la subdirectora del Royal Grammar School en Wycombe. Llevo 17 años trabajando como profesora de idiomas. Tengo una licenciatura en español y alemán por la Universidad de Manchester e hice mi PGCE en la Universidad de Exeter y hace poco acabo de completar mi Master's en University College London. Antes de asumir cargos de liderazgo, fui la jefa del departamento de idiomas y también mentora para muchas personas haciendo el PGCE. Actualmente estoy responsable de enseñanza y aprendizaje y CPD. Y el colegio donde yo trabajo es bastante antiguo, de hecho, más de 450 años. Contamos con 1.400 alumnos y es un colegio con un nivel académico bastante alto y los alumnos vienen de una gran variedad de razas y culturas.
Me parece muy interesante. Realmente aprecio muchísimo esta perspectiva que nos das sobre tu colegio. Sabrina, desde tu experiencia, ¿qué elementos del modelo educativo británico y la cultura alrededor de la enseñanza y el aprendizaje consideras que podrían ser los más valiosos para colegios en otros países que puedan ellos adoptar o inspirarse?
Pues primero creo que es el fomento de la investigación y la curiosidad en los estudiantes. Hace unos años las universidades aquí empezaron a expresar su preocupación por la falta de investigación y pensamiento crítico en los estudiantes y en los colegios. Y a partir de ahí comenzaron a impulsar una cultura más sólida de investigación y reflexión, y eso ha tenido un impacto directo en la preparación y el progreso de los estudiantes hacia la universidad. Eso también incluye los requisitos de los exámenes de secundario en muchas asignaturas. También yo diría que segundo es el sentido de pertenencia y la inclusión. En mi colegio se celebra la diversidad y las diferencias, incorporándoles en los recursos, en las prácticas de enseñanza diaria y como Ofsted presta especial atención a cómo las instituciones fomentan la inclusión y el sentido de pertenencia, ¿sí? Y para aclarar, Ofsted es el organismo oficial del gobierno británico encargado de inspeccionar y evaluar la calidad educativa de los colegios. Así que para nosotros una visita de Ofsted es algo súper importante.
En el contexto del Reino Unido, un país que históricamente ha construido un sistema educativo sobre la apertura, sobre la diversidad, sobre la inclusión de distintas culturas, casi metido en el ADN de su creación. Esta visión se vive de una forma muy natural, muy diferente a cómo se vería desde Latinoamérica, que también es un país multicultural, pero tiene bastantes diferencias y la gente que está escuchándonos lo estará notando poco a poco, pero el Royal Grammar School es un gran ejemplo de ello. Es una institución que ha sabido evolucionar con todos estos años, pasando de un colegio masculino a convertirse ahora en un colegio mixto, que ha sabido evolucionar en diferentes aspectos, también en cuanto a la cultura académica, a la diversidad moderna, la demanda de los jóvenes de hoy. Sabrina, desde tu experiencia, ¿qué prácticas o enfoques utiliza el Royal Grammar School para asegurar que los estudiantes crezcan entendiendo, pero también respetando y aprendiendo de otras culturas dentro de la...
Pues nosotros tenemos una estrategia de pertenencia. Tenemos como objetivo que cada estudiante se sienta parte de la comunidad escolar y que nadie se sienta aislado. Sabes que para ello hemos creado una serie de actividades. Por ejemplo, tenemos clubes y grupos estudiantiles organizados por intereses o por afinidad cultural o étnica. Tenemos semanas temáticas dedicadas a conocer a culturas diferentes. Por ejemplo, durante esta semana los alumnos aprenden a tocar los tambores indios, a hacer sushi, a hacer tai chi, a hacer la caligrafía china, toda una gran variedad de cosas. Y también eso es fuera de la clase, pero actividades dentro de la clase integran contenidos y perspectivas internacionales también. Los profesores tienen una responsabilidad para asegurarse que los ejemplos que usan sean diversos, que todos los alumnos puedan identificarse con lo que aprenden. El currículo de cada asignatura tiene que mostrar cómo conectan el campo de estudios con ejemplos de la vida real, de la diversidad cultural. Y también yo diría que la participación de las familias es imprescindible. Nosotros invitamos a los padres a nuestros eventos culturales que celebramos en el colegio y eso realmente refuerza el sentido de comunidad aquí en el colegio.
Interesante. Entonces, por un lado, no es que los profesores hagan el esfuerzo de internacionalizar un currículo, es política del colegio. Y por otro lado,
Sí.
veo que las familias participan en las actividades culturales, pero culturales con el enfoque internacional en este caso. Entonces, es atraer a las familias a una participación activa. Normalmente eso pasa únicamente dentro de la comunidad escolar, o sea, solo los estudiantes y los profesores. Ahora, el reino y el desarrollo profesional continuo es un pilar fundamental dentro de la educación. Y me gustaría saber más desde tu experiencia, ¿cómo contribuye el desarrollo profesional continuo? Siendo tu líder, mentora para otros profesores y para otros colegios. Quisiera saber cómo esto constituye la calidad y la innovación en la enseñanza de la RGS.
Pues creo que en realidad se trata más del hecho de que las personas quedan atrapadas en la rutina, ¿no? Hacen lo mismo una y otra vez y antes de que te des cuenta, estás simplemente cumpliendo con la función sin implicarte realmente en ella. Cada vez se realiza más investigación sobre el aprendizaje a lo largo de la vida y en los 4 años en los que me he dedicado a la formación, bueno, llevo mucho más enseñando, pero he visto cambios enormes en mi propia experiencia, especialmente en cuanto a la inclusión y trabajo con niños con dificultades de aprendizaje. Y si no sigues avanzando y mejorando, quienes realmente lo pagan son los estudiantes. Yo me pregunto por qué enseñamos, por qué hacemos este trabajo. Pues lo hacemos por los estudiantes y por los resultados claves que queremos que ellos consigan. Así que para lograr esto necesitamos mejorar nosotros mismos. Aquí en el Reino Unido tenemos organismos profesionales de enseñanza con los que debemos cumplir y uno de los requisitos es el desarrollo profesional continuo. Todos los docentes firmamos un compromiso en el que declaramos que lo vamos a hacer, así que es súper importante.
No, mil gracias. Qué interesante. Estoy seguro que el Royal Grammar School Sabrina más adelante podemos impulsar al niño poder tener una sesión exclusiva sobre el desarrollo profesional y ya nos lo han traído varias veces. Sabrina, mil gracias. Es un espacio muy corto. Sé que son las 8 de la noche aquí en el Reino Unido. Después de un día, una semana bastante difícil en el campo, en los colegios, comienzo de año escolar. Muchas gracias por tu tiempo. Apreciamos enormemente las perspectivas, las experiencias, las ideas y la inspiración para muchos colegios y rectores y docentes en Latinoamérica. Entonces, que tengas muchos éxitos en tu carrera profesional y te esperamos ver muy pronto.
Gracias, gracias.
Ahora pasaremos a la siguiente parte de nuestro invitado. Es Luis Sifuentes. Luis es presidente de la Asociación de Colegios iPGCE en Perú, también director de secundaria del Colegio San George, también es presidente de la Asociación de Colegios Británicos en Perú. Para empezar, los colegios británicos en Perú, como el Colegio San George, se han destacado. Y esto lo he visto en muchas comunicaciones con diferentes rectores de Perú, las experiencias de familias de otros estudiantes En el fondo han utilizado métodos bastante innovadores para brindar oportunidades de internacionalización en la comunidad escolar. Luis, para ir directo, ¿qué tipo de oportunidades internacionales te ofrece tu colegio y los colegios de la Asociación Británica y del IB en Perú? ¿Qué marcan la diferencia y con qué frecuencia se desarrollan?
Gracias. Bueno, en el caso de los colegios miembros de la asociación y los colegios de British School of Perú, que son la BSP, que es parte de la asociación también, y en el caso del St. George's College, nosotros les brindamos oportunidades internacionales, ¿no? Sobre todo las que estén muy alineadas con los programas, en este caso es claro, con enfoque global como el IB, o sea, el Bachillerato Internacional, o como aquellos colegios que tienen currícula de Cambridge, por ejemplo, que tienen programas como el GCSE, iGCSE, etcétera, ¿no? Para poder llevar a cabo todas estas actividades hay que elaborar un calendario, ¿no? Hay que verlo bien porque recuerda que nosotros tenemos diferente calendario con el hemisferio norte, es decir, nosotros vamos de marzo a diciembre y este calendario se va a traducir en actividades que son anuales, programadas y que están integradas a nuestro año académico. Incluyen viajes culturales, sobre todo para fortalecer el tema del idioma inglés y el tema de la cultura. También tenemos experiencias de viajes con enfoques en la tecnología e innovación. Existe un programa que nosotros trabajamos con Code Education, que vamos a Londres y ahí vemos mucha tecnología, hemos pasado por muchos lugares en Londres. Hay programas de Summer School, correcto, teníamos ISCA, nosotros tenemos también unos promotores que se llaman ISP, es International School Partnership, y a través de ellos también tenemos esta experiencia de intercambio. Hay experiencia de debates en inglés, el caso es el MON, el modelo de Naciones Unidas, y también por Round Square tenemos intercambios estudiantiles, ¿no? Entonces, todas estas experiencias realmente se han diseñado para complementar la formación de nuestros estudiantes, que la formación y la educación se dé más allá del aula, ¿no? Como un aprendizaje, experiencia que es muy valioso, que esto no lo van a encontrar ni en libros ni en videos, ¿no? Y esto ha fortalecido mucho el enlace con la cultura británica.
En algún momento de nuestra conversación dice que cada estudiante debe asegurar una experiencia internacional. ¿Por qué?
En el caso, sí, en el caso de nuestros promotores, sí, se busca que todos estudiantes a través de algún tipo de experiencia, de hecho hay un porcentaje presencial y otro porcentaje virtual, tengan una experiencia internacional, ¿no? Trabajos colaborativos y como te decía, este tema de intercambios. eh, la verdad que el año pasado nosotros una población de 1,000 alumnos aquí en nuestra sede senior y casi 200 alumnos viajaron a tener una experiencia internacional, la gran mayoría en Europa. Entonces, eso sí ha impactado bastante, ¿no? Definitivamente han sido reconocidos, han ganado competencias, en eventos en Inglaterra. Entonces, esto ha ido fortaleciendo de alguna manera que no solamente académicamente el colegio tiene un estatus, sino también la posibilidad de permitir experiencias internacionales que definitivamente los padres ven que enriquecen y cambian a los chicos, ¿no?
Interesantísimo. Justamente esta es mi segunda pregunta, es impacto académico. Obviamente ya podemos ver impactos en la parte personal de los estudiantes y se puede escribir yo, pero académicamente, ¿qué han observado los estudiantes al participar en o al apreciar estas oportunidades?
Muy bien. Académicamente, para empezar, nuestros estudiantes han desarrollado ciertas habilidades de autogestión. Es decir, estas experiencias le han permitido definitivamente ser más autónomos. ¿Ok? Ver y observar a otras realidades les han permitido darse cuenta de que definitivamente están en un mundo muy competitivo y ver otra realidad también los compromete al esfuerzo, ¿no? A aumentar su sentido de responsabilidad. Se dan cuenta que el idioma, en este caso el inglés, es fundamental para ellos para poder desenvolverse en el medio, ¿no? Se observa también, ¿sabes qué? Un impacto muy positivo en la motivación académica. O sea, muchos de ellos vienen ya con otro concepto, con otra visión. Curiosamente, un gran porcentaje de nuestros chicos terminan yéndose al exterior, es decir, post pandemia el crecimiento fue tremendo, ¿no? Es decir, casi se cuadruplicó el número de estudiantes que van al exterior. Nuestros promociones o cohorts son de más o menos 150, 180 chicos, entonces la teoría es más o menos la cantidad de chicos que quieren estudiar. Eso también ha permitido de alguna manera que los resultados en el bachillerato internacional también suban, porque los requisitos en otros países son mucho mayor. O sea, si uno quiere estudiar, definitivamente los puntajes tienen que ser bastante altos, ¿no? Hemos observado también que, como te digo, aparte de la visión más amplia que tienen estos chicos, ahora participan en experiencias, en proyectos, en eventos con mayor soltura, ¿no? Y sobre todo eventos que requieren mucho trabajar la parte de pensamiento crítico y que, como te dije, vuelvan de alguna manera a mostrar autonomía, ¿no? Y finalmente, de este 25% de los chicos, porque eso es lo que tenemos más o menos estimado, que 25% de los alumnos que egresan de San George's, varios van a Inglaterra, y es más, recién este año hemos tenido una primera experiencia de un alumno que salió en 2023 y está estudiando en la Universidad de Bristol, y con la Universidad de Bristol nos pidieron si podía hacer un voluntariado en nuestro colegio y trabajar con nosotros. Entonces él ha venido nuevamente a las aulas, pero no solamente para visitar, sino para hacer un trabajo, y eso le valía en la universidad, ¿no? Eso de alguna manera, más en los estudios, haber permitido recortar. Y honestamente yo lo vi muy cambiado, mucho más maduro, y él mismo volvió definitivamente con muchas ganas de aportar, de apoyar, ¿no? Entonces, compartió también, curiosamente, valga el comentario, sus experiencias, cómo fue su camino para llegar a Bristol, y se lo compartió con los chicos que van a ingresar al programa. Entonces los chicos realmente empatizaron, ¿no? Hubo mucha conexión porque lo tenían muy cercano el refresco, de verlo como un prefect caminando por las aulas del colegio, ahora verlo como un universitario y encima haciendo voluntariado en el propio colegio, ¿no? Estuvo muy, muy simpática esa experiencia.
Y eso es parte de la innovación. Muy interesante lo que me dices. Es no solamente sacar y mandar estudiantes a otros países, sino buscar oportunidades para que ellos puedan contribuir con su comunidad, contribuir con su colegio. Eso es algo que me parece muy interesante para que instituciones en el Reino Unido, como Sheffield o Aberystwyth, podamos proponer para que existan esas oportunidades para contribuir. Y aprecio muchísimo lo que me dices con el cambio de la personalidad y la perspectiva de los estudiantes. En mi experiencia con el Summer School de Aberystwyth es algo que contaremos porque yo lo vi en los estudiantes que vinieron recientemente al Reino Unido con este FAQ. Pero una pregunta adicional, Luis. A ver, ya hemos visto esto ha ayudado a los estudiantes, cómo puede ayudar en el colegio, pero institucionalmente, o sea, ya hablando de colegio como una institución con un objetivo de crecimiento institucional, ¿cómo ha ayudado a mejorar la reputación del colegio? Mira, yo soy padre y yo quiero nombrar para mis hijos. Yo pienso, ¿qué colegio me puede dar más oportunidades para mi hijo? El hecho de que pues, instituciones de la ID y británicas tengan estas estrategias, ¿han visto alguna correlación en el interés de las familias en mandar a sus hijos a colegios como este?
Sí, no, definitivamente, sin duda, ¿no? La estrategia de apostar a tener experiencias internacionales ha contribuido a consolidar a nuestro colegio. O sea, yo no puedo negarlo, es decir, el impacto ha sido muy fuerte. Nosotros, más o menos, para el caso de bachillerato internacional, tenemos casi un 15% de postulantes de la promoción. Es decir, digamos, si a estos 150 hay como unos 20 chicos que quieren entrar al colegio, pero lo curioso es que no solamente hablan de la bondad del programa, sino también hablan de la oportunidad que tienen ellos de poder hacer experiencias internacionales, viajes, etcétera. Entonces, llegan como con esta inquietud los padres de familia, ¿no? Entonces, este interés definitivamente ha fortalecido en nosotros la cultura institucional, es decir, apostar por la mentalidad internacional, definitivamente apostar por el bilingüismo, apostar por a estos aprendizajes de experiencia, ¿no? Ya que los mismos estudiantes que han viajado regresan y comparten con compañeros y profesores, no solo en asambleas, en pasillos, ellos mismos comentan en grupos, ¿no? Y esto a su vez lo transmiten a las casas, y de alguna manera se hace un impacto, se transmite también a través de las redes, ¿no? También tenemos una ventaja al poder recibir visitantes internacionales, ¿no? Es decir, a veces vienen expositores y comparten con los chicos. Entonces, todo este tema de internacionalismo, si queremos ponerle algún término, definitivamente ha favorecido el crecimiento del colegio. Somos un colegio en total entre nuestras sedes de más de 2.000 alumnos, ¿no?
Mi pregunta es cómo organizan estratégicamente sus actividades, si pueden dar algunas ideas, cómo las dividen por objetivo, por destino, por perfil del estudiante. Y junto con esto, ¿qué consejos tú podrías darle a otros colegios que desean poder internacionalizarse más en vista del crecimiento de prostitución en este aspecto?
Ujú. Bueno, definitivamente tenemos que planificar actividades o iniciativas internacionales. Tú sabes que mientras mayor es la edad, es más fácil de poder manejar grupos. El tema es ir hacia abajo, es decir, cuando tienen menor edad. De todas maneras, hay que hacer un plan estratégico, considerando sobre todo los objetivos educativos, ¿no? Para qué viajo y cuál es el propósito y cómo va a contribuir en mi formación, el perfil de madurez también del estudiante. Nosotros también tenemos de alguna manera una forma de tratar de que los estudiantes cuando van no solamente tengan una experiencia positiva, sino también de alguna manera se prestigien y nos prestigien, ¿no? Buscamos que cada experiencia tenga un propósito, por eso hay viajes que tienen el objetivo de analizar la cultura, otros viajes que tienen el objetivo de desarrollar, como te digo, tecnología, otros que de alguna manera buscan vivir la experiencia de estudiar en una entidad en el exterior, ¿no? Y esto siempre considerando la etapa de desarrollo de los chicos, ¿no? No es lo mismo mandar un chico que está en 8º grado que está en 10º grado, hay una diferencia, ¿no? Una de las ventajas que podríamos tener está en que gracias al apoyo de nuestros promotores de ISP, de International School Partnership, que es una red de más de 100 colegios en 25 países, todas estas estructuras de alguna manera se están fortaleciendo, ¿no? El mismo objetivo de garantizar una experiencia internacional ha hecho de que se forme en nuestro colegio un programa que se llama Student Future, que lo hacen todos los colegios y donde se busca que no solo tengan experiencias internacionales, sino también se haga un seguimiento a lo largo de la secundaria de cuál va a ser su futuro profesional y promover lo que se llama las competencias para toda la vida, ¿no? La mentalidad internacional se embebe mucho y de esta forma nosotros tomamos iniciativas que van a contribuir de alguna manera de forma contundente a la formación integral del alumno, académicamente, que lo podríamos percibir, por ejemplo, cuando van y participan en foros o en estos debates internacionales, viajan a Panamá, viajan a otros lados, por decir, para competir por el mundo, o también a través de voluntariado. Se hacen proyectos también, no solamente a nivel nacional, sino también internacional. Y mira, ya no es hacia afuera, como tú dijiste muy bien, ahora es hacia adentro. Ahorita se han enterado y hay chicos que también están preguntando cómo poder hacer un voluntariado acá, trabajarlo en diferentes áreas que nosotros tenemos. Entonces, esto creo que definitivamente apostar por el hecho de que no solamente, y es una estrategia en otros lados, ¿no? De que salgan y se enriquezcan también, que regresen y contribuyan un poco, porque definitivamente impactan muy fuerte que vean a un estudiante que nomás estaba en las aulas y vestía el mismo uniforme, que lo vean ahora en otro rol y definitivamente compartiendo sus experiencias, ¿no? Ujú.
Luis, mira, mil gracias, de verdad. Aprecio muchísimo tu perspectiva por compartir las experiencias que son inspiradoras y son grandes ideas. Me ha encantado mucho tu visión de que los estudiantes realmente puedan contribuir, puedan regresar, puedan aportar en colaboración con las universidades. Em, entonces, esperamos muy próximamente tener a la Asociación de Colegios IB y Británicos en Perú en futuras sesiones con Academic Action. Es un orgullo para nosotros poder empezar este trabajo en conjunto con ustedes. Y bueno, espero verte en una próxima ocasión, Luis. Muy gracias.
No, a ti, gracias y ya sabes, así como les recomiendo a todos, siempre lo más importante es encontrar alianzas estratégicas con instituciones como Academic Action, por ejemplo, con lo que vamos a establecer una alianza estratégica para poder contribuir en la formación de nuestros estudiantes, ¿correcto? La experiencia la tienen ustedes, nosotros tenemos todas las ganas de que nuestros chicos se beneficien con estas experiencias. Muchas gracias a ti, Paolo.
Desde este momento empezaremos nuestra sesión en inglés. From this point, the session will continue in English. And it's now my pleasure to introduce Harriet Howse, Head of Global Engagement at Aberystwyth University in Wales, one of the UK's oldest university and pioneer in international education. And with us, Harriet, thank you so much for joining us, sir.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Paolo. It's a pleasure to be here today. Hi, everybody.
Harry, could you start by telling us a bit about yourself? What do you do at Aberystwyth University? Where is Aberystwyth University? What makes it unique? And some of its key strengths.
Absolutely. So my name's Harriet. As Paolo mentioned, I'm head of global engagement. So we look after all of the international students who are here on campus. We look at all of our different partnerships that we have with different universities and schools all over the world. And we look at the exchange programs that we have. So internationalisation of our own students, sending those students overseas and having different international experiences. Personally, I myself estudiaba español en la universidad desde hace mucho tiempo, así que mi español ya no es tan bueno, pero vivía en Chile por un año, trabajaba en la Universidad de Talca, París y Londres. And it was a fantastic year. So I loved being in Latin America, and it is an absolute pleasure to be speaking to people from Latin America again. And the students that we've had from Latin America to Aberystwyth University have been fantastic. So they're really dedicated, intelligent, curious students, and they're a real pleasure to have on campus. So one of the things that I think is worth mentioning to begin with is the name Aberystwyth. So you can see above my head, it's very complicated. We were discussing it earlier with Luis. To pronounce it, you would say aber, like aber, wrist, like your wrist, and with, as in with, you're here with us. So Aberystwyth. Even people in England cannot pronounce the name properly. So we're based in Wales, in Gales, which is a good distance from London. It's probably about 3 hours on the train to get to Wales from London, and then another couple of hours over to Aberystwyth. So we're on the coast, as you can see behind me. We have an absolutely beautiful coastline, and we're surrounded by mountains and countryside. So it's a really rural location. We're not a great big city, we're a small town. And so it gives the students that sort of safe environment to be able to explore and find out who they are and, of course, concentrate on their studies without too much distraction. When you get stressed, you just go for a walk along the beach. It's absolutely beautiful. So Aberystwyth University is actually one of the oldest universities in the UK. We were founded in 1872. It was the first university in Wales. So it was the people of Wales who decided they needed to have a university in Wales. They clubbed together and in fact, everybody donated money and bought this building that's behind my head here, which is the old college. So we were founded in 1872. We pioneered the way for women to get education in universities as well. We offered the first degrees to women in Wales. And today we are still very much thriving. So we're 10th in the UK at the moment for teaching quality, about 15th in the UK for our student satisfaction. Students are really, really happy. Class sizes are very small, so teachers get to know their students really easily. And we were just voted ranked Sustainable University of the Year for 2026. So some of the other things about the university, again, in terms of firsts, we were the first international politics department in the world. So international politics did not exist before it started in Aberystwyth University in 1919. We are doing various different projects in engineering, computer science, robotics. So we're currently working with NASA on the next Mars rover mission. And we're working on the cameras that go on the top of the Mars rover. So they will be the cameras that get information from the top of Mars. And the name of that is Envis, which means rainbow in Welsh. And so it will be the first bit of Welsh language out in space ever. So we're quite proud of that. And of course, Wales is a very patriotic nation. And so we feel very proud that there will be a bit of Welsh language out in space. We've got the only vet school in Wales as well, veterinarian school. And we have real strengths in life sciences. So, for example, we're surrounded by nature. We're surrounded by countryside, fields, lots of agriculture. And then just in front of the campus is the sea. So we have real strengths in marine biology, biology generally, animal science, things like plant breeding. We've been breeding oats for over 100 years. So if you ever have porridge, if you're in the UK and you're eating your porridge, it was probably oats bred by Aberystwyth University. We have some amazing alumni as well. So King Charles III, in fact, came to study Welsh at the University of Aberystwyth, at Aberystwyth University, back many, many years ago. It was when he first became the Prince of Wales, and he was encouraged to learn some Welsh. So he came to Aberystwyth and he was here for a semester learning Welsh. I get the impression he didn't do very well, but it's good that he tried. So I think people appreciated the fact that he gave it a go. So I'd say that's probably Aberystwyth University in a nutshell. I've spent 10 years living in London, and then I moved to Aberystwyth about 5 years ago, and I've never looked back. It's an absolutely beautiful, amazing place, and I'm still learning more about it. And we're so far away from everything else. We're very far away from any big cities, and yet we are the capital of culture. We're the cultural capital of Wales. We have the National Library of Wales here. There are festivals, there are comedy festivals, music festivals, and there's a lot of people who, when you say you're from Aberystwyth University, somehow they know somebody who knows something about Aberystwyth. So even around the world, we meet people who go, "Yes, I know Aberystwyth. I know Aberystwyth." So yes, it has been a pleasure to be here for the last 5 years.
Thank you, Harry, for those insights and an introduction to Aberystwyth University. Personally, I have been there twice in summer, and it's beautiful. And also, I experienced firsthand the purpose of actually this interview, which is about the summer school, and something I'm very excited to talk about. Usually, summer schools or summer camps are designed to make profit, and they often become more of a cultural, a recreational experience than a truly educational one. Apart from improving English, most of the summer schools don't focus on that part. But Aberystwyth University is doing something very different, very unique, and it offers an affordable opportunity with very high value for young people. And something that I love it is because it is breaking barriers, creating access for students who deserve equal opportunities. Because normally thinking about studying in the UK, going for a month, going for a couple of weeks, they think it's very expensive. But Aberystwyth is opening those doors and breaking these barriers. So could you tell us a bit more about Aberystwyth Summer School, what it offers, and why it stands out from other international programs?
Absolutely. Yes, we're very, very proud of the summer school, and it's been something that's been running for many years, and we're beginning to really revamp it and make it something that's truly special for international schools. So it's a 2-week summer school. It's very much cost effective, so it's designed in a way that we're not making a profit on this. We're just about covering our costs, but it's about building these relationships with the students and with the schools themselves. So it's designed for schools that are internationally focused anyway, and that have a sort of a specialism in something to do with STEM, something to do with entrepreneurship, something to do with sustainability, or even social development. So they're the sort of 4 areas that we're looking at really trying to nurture. So schools that are looking at those areas and they have students with that international outlook anyway, they're the schools that would be interested in this kind of summer school. So like I say, it's a 2-week program. It is cost effective, so the fees cover everything basically. So transportation, accommodation, food, and we keep the costs as low as we possibly can. So students spend their days, they'll do the mornings are sort of English lessons, and the afternoons are academic sessions, but there are a variety of different academic sessions. All the academic sessions and the English classes are taught by university lecturers and professors. So certainly for the academic sessions, they'll be learning from pioneers and expert professors in their fields. They'll be learning from the best. They'll be learning the most up-to-date information and getting that knowledge. And then there are a mixture of different cultural activities as well. So, of course, Wales is rich in cultural history. We've got castles everywhere. I mean, there's a castle in Aberystwyth, which is nobody really knows much about it because castles are just so common here. They're everywhere. We don't know the ins and outs of everything to do with it. And different sort of social activities as well. But the thing that we really focus on is all the bits that make a student or push a student on the path to become a truly successful leader. So yes, students can learn about engineering and they can learn about computer science and they can learn about, history or mathematics. But the things that are going to make them really successful is not that knowledge alone. It's all the extra bits that come with it that make them drive them towards success in leadership. So I would say the sort of three main areas are to do with being able to effectively work with other people. So being able to do teamwork, being able to understand other people, being able to listen and being able to work as part of a team and work towards a common goal. So that's something that we really focus on in all of our classes. So both the English classes and the academic classes. How can students work together to focus on the end goal and get to reach that collaboratively? So collaborative working. Secondly, in terms of their communication, and that's not just about being able to communicate and express themselves. Communication is also about listening. It's also about understanding other people and understanding other people's motivations. And these days, you can't do that without, in such a globalized world, you can't do that without understanding various different intercultural elements. And so that's something else that we really promote. The students are, we have students from different parts of the world involved in this summer school, and they meet with students from the UK as well. So there's this understanding of very different cultures. I mean, the last summer school, we had students from Korea, we had students from Costa Rica, we had students from Ecuador. They were on campus with Welsh students, with English students, and various other nationalities around them. So understanding that element of how do other cultures operate? Why does one culture do this as opposed to this? This is very different to what I'm used to. Why do they do it that way? And breaking those perceptions of they do it differently and therefore it's not correct. It's understanding that other viewpoint. And that's what really helps with communication. And finally, in terms of the student experience, that they need to have that confidence to push them forward as a really successful leader. And it's the confidence that this summer school really helps to deliver. So it makes this international experience something that's very accessible to students. And what we find with students is that when they find themselves outside of their comfort zone, when they're in challenging situations and they see that actually they can do it, actually they can thrive, they can be successful in these ways, that confidence begins to grow and grow and grow. And there's nothing to boost your confidence better than going to the other side of the world and coming back with an incredible list of memories and experiences and friends. That sort of experience really, really helps students in their future. So what we find is that using those elements, we can prepare students for their future careers in the university and then in the world of work in the future. If they can identify those skills that they need in teamwork, in proper communication and intercultural communication, and having that confidence in themselves and their own skills, they'll be able to really thrive in not only their degrees in the future, but also in the world of work going forward. So I'd say that's probably...
That's amazing. Thank you so much. That's a really interesting way for schools to learn how they could help their students to achieve their objectives behind this summer school. Now, we know that there is still many barriers and sometimes hidden misconceptions about accessibility to British education. many students and families who believe that studying in the UK is only possible for those who have perfect grades or specific academic backgrounds or afford the opportunity to go there. But in reality, the UK education system is not only going to is not built to exclude talent. I believe it's designed to support and develop. So that's why I think you have something called a fast track foundation program, and in the next 2 to 3 minutes, if possible, can you tell us how you are closing this gap for students who might not have the full curriculum, maybe, or maybe they don't have the right qualification, but still have the talent, the passion, or the ability to and motivation to succeed a career in the UK? What is that? What is Aberystwyth Upper?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think as people probably know, the UK school system is 13 years long, whereas in most of the countries it's only 12 years long. And so a degree program in the UK lasts only 3 years. But if a student has only done 12 years of schooling and then they're going on to only a 3-year degree program, there's a year missing there. And so that's where students are often required to take an international foundation program. Now, what we've developed for particular students from particular areas is what we call the Fast Track Foundation program. So this is a 15-week foundation program that runs from January and finishes in sort of May, June time. Students need to have a good, solid level of English before they start, but they can get on to this 15-week fast track program with only 12 years of schooling, or if they don't meet the entry requirements to get on to the undergraduate course at Aberystwyth. So it's a much more condensed program. It really focuses on the the English language skills, but for academic purposes. So how to research, how to write and construct an essay, how to deliver a proper presentation, all of those skills that students will need before they get into university. Because we believe that, most students, unless they're a sort of really key, we have to have maths in, mathematics at a certain level. Most students will be able to cope with that 3-year undergraduate course. So we believe that 15-week course is enough, or we've demonstrated that it is enough to bring students up to the required level to then come on to our 3-year undergraduate program. And I'd say that's especially true for countries in Latin America. Again, that motivation of the students is really there. Student quality is fantastic. And so we want to be able to support students in that way. I'd also say that, Aberystwyth it has that prestige, it has that tradition, the teaching quality is amazing, student satisfaction is amazing. We do very strong research as well. But it's a cost-effective option. So we have a lot of opportunities for students for various different scholarships. The living costs when you're here are significantly reduced as well, because you're not in a big city. There aren't those big travel costs. You could pretty much walk everywhere. I don't want to go on too much about our 15-week fast track program, so I'll stop there. But yes, please do continue with any questions if anybody has any.
It's amazing to know about these opportunities, affordable opportunities, but also strategic opportunities for young people in Latin America to access to higher education here in the UK, fitting quality and affordability to them. Now, I have, thank you so much, Harriet. I'm pretty sure it's not going to be the last time we're going to be talking about Aberystwyth University and our partnership. And in fact, if you want to know more about Summer School in Aberystwyth, Academic Action and Aberystwyth University are working together in a partnership to support your students, to support your school. And now we are reaching the last section of this session. And we're going to now continue with the University of Sheffield. And for that, we have with us Matthew Harewood from University of Sheffield to focus on the other side of the internationalization. So we have talked about opportunities. Well, actually, we're talking about the perspective from a British school, then a perspective from a successful approach to internationalize and connect with British education from Peru. We have seen now what British university like Aberystwyth University is doing to support young people to progress professionally and culturally and academically. But now we're going to look about what is being done to support futures, to get to grow professionally. Welcome, Matthew, to this session. Thank you, Matthew. Just to begin with, can you introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit more about the University of Sheffield and your role in the university.
Yeah, so I'm Matthew Harewood. Everyone should call me Matt though, and I'm the program lead for our International PGCE program at the University of Sheffield. So the University of Sheffield is an absolutely fantastic university. Obviously, I'm biased, but we are a world top 100 university, with 92% of our research being ranked as world leading or internationally excellent. We're a member of the Russell Group, which for people that don't know is a group of 24 universities that lead in teaching and research. And we have been voted number one for our teaching excellence. And the School of Education, which is where students study the iPGCE course that I lead, has been rated and joint top for research outputs. The university has also been voted University of the Year by students. The Students' Union is voted the top Students' Union quite frequently, which was much to my annoyance when I was an undergraduate, because I went to the University of Essex, which was consistently voted number 2. We always lost to the University of Sheffield. So I think students really, really enjoy their time at the University of Sheffield. Sheffield is a really welcoming city to students. We have actually 2 universities in Sheffield. So there's the University of Sheffield and another university called Sheffield Hallam University. And between the 2 universities, there's about 70,000 students roughly in Sheffield. So it's a very student-centered city. And actually in the summer, when the majority of students sort of go back home, it can actually feel quite quiet. But it's a very kind of vibrant place. Although it is a city, it's very safe. It's quite close to a number of quite interesting locations to visit. Whenever I chat to international students that are studying at the university, they like its proximity to York, Manchester, and we're also actually only just over 2 hours from London on the train. So we're quite well located. We're quite central. I'm quite sure people from Sheffield would get quite annoyed with me for calling us central. We're located in the north of England. So that's a little bit about kind of the University of Sheffield, and sort of a short intro to me.
But now going to our main point of this meeting, I actually completed my own postgraduate certificate in education, a PVC, in modern foreign language from Manchester University a long time ago, which pertains this give me the opportunity to become a teacher here in the UK. So now we got here the International Postgraduate Certificate in Education. What is the difference? What exactly is that? Could you tell us a little bit more about this?
Yes. So the International Postgraduate Certificate in Education, iPGCE, is a qualification for educators working outside the UK. So it's most frequently undertaken by educators, teachers working in international schools in institutions all over the world. So our current cohort has students from the United States. We've got students from countries throughout Europe. We've got Italy, Germany, France, Poland. We have student who's joined from Australia this year. So it's a very diverse cohort of students who are working in these international contexts. Interestingly, the iPGCE is also open to people who perhaps aren't working in international schools, but might be working in other education adjacent roles. So, for example, we have students that might be working for tutoring organizations. We also have some people that join from sort of professional backgrounds. Like we have someone who works in compliance within the banking sector who's doing the iPGCE this year, who works in continuing professional development, is looking to upskill themselves in relation to that. So we have learners from a real diverse range of contexts, but primarily from those international schools. So I would say the way that it primarily differs from a PGCE is that with a PGCE in the UK, this is a year-long course where you will work, have at least 2 school-based placements where you work with a mentor and you get kind of hands-on teaching experience while also completing assignments that, upon completion of the course, grants you qualified teacher status, QTS. The iPGCE does not grant qualified teacher status because it's not tied to the professional standards, the teaching standards that the PGCE is tied to in the UK. So with the iPGCE, it's primarily an online course, and there isn't actually a requirement for students to complete a number of hours within a school across the year. So in that sense, the iPGCE is perhaps more grounded in theory, although it is still very applied and hands-on in terms of the way we encourage students to apply their learning from their assessment to whatever educational context they're working in. So I would say one of the main differences, and I would argue one of the main advantages of the iPGCE, is its flexibility. The fact that it's very adaptable to the context and needs of each individual learner and where they find themselves. So we have learners, some people are working part-time, many people are working full-time, some are in leadership roles, some are at the very beginning of their teaching careers. We have lots of parents that complete the course alongside their kind of wider kind of responsibilities for the family and things like that. So the flexibility of the course, I think is quite attractive to a lot of students. And that's perhaps something that with a PGCE, the kind of PGCE in the UK, things are more directed. So there would be less of that flexibility and perhaps less of that opportunity to apply things to a specific learning context that you're already working in.
Thank you, Matthew. That's very clear. Thank you. Now that we understand what the international PGCE is and why it's such an important qualification, I like to go out a little bit deeper. And many teachers and schools are curious about how the program actually works and how can take part in it. Can you tell us a little bit more about it?
So in terms of the actual structure of the program has 2 modules, which one runs in the autumn semester up until the winter break, and then one takes place after the winter break and runs from late January until, I believe, the final submission is in April, early May time. So the first module, both modules are accompanied with online self-paced learning materials, which are also complemented by online sessions which are run by myself or the other tutors working on the course. So the online materials are organized into learning units that go into key aspects of teaching skills. So the first module is very much about equipping students with the core pedagogical skills they need to be successful. So it looks at things like lesson planning, assessment, behavioral management, curriculum design, and then also specific topics within education, such as motivation, that unit was developed by one of my colleagues, looking at her work on self-determination theory. We've also got a unit on culturally responsive pedagogy. So we've got these kind of slightly more focused units as students work through that first module. This module is assessed via a teaching portfolio, where students produce an essay about a pedagogical topic of their choice. So this can be anything that is relevant to their educational context. Sometimes this is determined in conjunction with the school, because sometimes students are sponsored by their school and their school part pays for the fee of the iPGCE. And in those cases, the school might have a bit more influence on perhaps how they take the direction of their assessments, or in other cases, students are kind of free to choose their own focus. So students might focus on something like group work in the classroom, or last year I supervised a student that was really interested in the role of continuing professional development for cover or supply teachers, and how there was a real lack of continuing professional development opportunities for these supply teachers. So he focused his pedagogical investigation on this topic. In addition to the essay, students produce a lesson plan that includes an activity which they need to teach, and then they produce an extended reflection on this teaching activity, which is also included within the portfolio. And students also produce a blog post, which I think students sometimes find initially quite challenging, but then by the end of the assessment often find it very rewarding, because this gives students the opportunity to practice writing for a different audience. So I think it's a really key skill for educators to be able to take the kind of complex educational theory and be able to put it across in more accessible language and disseminate that to wider audiences, or to be able to condense complex educational ideas into bite-sized chunks that might be more useful and helpful for other educators who might be quite pressed for time and might not have time to read a long extended essay, but can engage with a helpful blog post. And at the end of this assessment, we do publish some of these blog posts as well. So that's the assessment for the first module. So they submit that just after the winter break. Students get their feedback at the end of January, and then they begin Module 2. Module 2 invites students to complete a research project on a topic of their choice within their educational context. So a lot of students will build off the topic of their portfolio. So they might continue that investigation to group work, or if they're looking at something subject specific like teaching phonics, they might actually research that within their classroom environment. This module equips students with a robust understanding of the principles of research, especially in educational context. It gives students the opportunity to complete the University of Sheffield ethics application, working with their supervisor on that to receive ethical approval. They get the opportunity to collect first-hand data, write this data up, and produce a research report. And again, I think students really enjoy this project and getting to do something within their educational context that may lead to some changes or certainly recommendations for practice within their specific area. I should also say, I think I've sort of alluded to this, but I should probably say at the beginning of the iPGCE, each student is assigned a tutor that they work with throughout the duration of both modules. And that tutor is someone that they can have meetings with. Their tutor will provide feedback on plans of their work and drafts of their work in advance of the final submissions. And their tutor will also be the person that marks their final submission. Of course, we have moderation processes around that as well, but your tutor will be your primary first marker. So we get to, despite it being an online course that happens at distance, we actually get to know our students quite well. I know most of my iPGCE students a lot better than students I perhaps teach on other programs. Even though I might see them in person, I develop, I would say, kind of stronger professional relationships with many of my iPGCE tutees.
Thank you so much for that. And what are the main benefits for schools to implement the IPGCE? How can a school gain from having staff completing the program in terms of teaching quality, staff development, and even internationalization?
So, yeah, I think the iPGCE is a really high quality, internationally recognized qualification, and the educational theory and pedagogy that we teach within the program is rooted in British educational standards. And it invites students to become critical reflectors, active practitioners, taking active part in kind of reflecting on their practice, making changes, applying what they're learning. So it develops a real culture of inquiry within schools. So what we often find is when perhaps one or two students from a school do the iPGCE, several students will then follow in the subsequent years, because senior leadership tend to really like the kind of cultural inquiry that it breeds. We're asking students to constantly think about, how does this reading, this activity that we do weekly activities that are held online, how does this apply to your context? And also getting students to understand that what applies to one context might look very different in another educational context. So it fosters also a very kind of critical mindset within students, which is very appealing, I think, for institutions. In addition to that, the iPGCE is a level 7 qualification. So the students are writing at master's level. Upon completing the iPGCE, you have 60 credits that some students then put towards a full master's, either perhaps a master's in education, so an MA in education or an MEd, or many students at the University of Sheffield carry on to our Applied Professional Studies MA course, the MA APSCIPP course as well. So it sets a real culture for kind of ongoing professional development. And I think I really like that it pushes teachers towards being active research practitioners as well. I think that's something that was very much encouraged in the PGCE that I did many, many years ago now, that actually teachers can be active researchers within their context as well. So engaging in cycles of action research to produce meaningful change and potentially insights that might have further reaching applications for educators. And I think that's something that the iPGCE really conveys, especially through the second module, by getting students to say, here's a problem that I've identified or a question that I want to answer. I'm going to go and collect data to try and answer that question and then make change on the basis of that.
That's really, really interesting, and I really appreciate that. So here you are, everyone. We have covered all our 4 points. We have Matthew finally talking about opportunities to teachers and schools to improve their career through an international postgraduate certificate in education. And with that, we conclude our session. We would love to continue with a variety of questions, but I have a question for each of our speakers today. And just because I'm aware of the time, it's almost 9 p.m. here it's 9 p.m. in the UK. So my first question will be for Sabrina. And that is going to be in Spanish. Sabrina, are you still there?
Sí, estoy aquí.
Sabrina, esta pregunta es en español. ¿Cómo podría empezar un colegio interesado en poder mejorar su desarrollo profesional continuo en el colegio? ¿Cuál sería el primer paso que tú recomendarías para ello?
Pues todo tiene que ser basado en las evidencias. Eso es lo más importante, en evidencia verídica y fundamentada, ¿sí? Para mí, lo que yo he notado es el éxito que tenemos es a causa de las opciones que damos a los docentes también. No obligamos a los profesores que asisten a algo que no les interesa primero. Eso es lo más importante. También damos varias opciones alineadas con nuestras prioridades como un colegio. Usamos el talento y el conocimiento que tenemos aquí en el colegio. Usamos personas que lideran los talleres. Recibimos mucho retroalimentación. Siempre quiero saber lo que opinan los profesores. Sí, varias cosas, pero más o menos esto.
Bueno, mil gracias. Muchísimas gracias. Podemos más preguntas sobre este campo, pero lo único que podemos hacer, dado el tiempo, Sabrina, mil gracias por esa oportunidad y te deseo muchos éxitos en tu carrera y esperemos verte pronto aquí en International.
Gracias a usted.
Muy bien, mi siguiente pregunta ahora está para Luis. Luis, tenemos una pregunta desde Chile. Me indican, Luis, ¿cómo estas oportunidades se hacen más asequibles para estudiantes ¿cómo hace cómo hace tu público de colegios para facilitar oportunidades a estudiantes que no tienen los recursos, pero tienen el talento? ¿Cómo manejan ese equilibrio entre ofrecer oportunidades en el exterior, pero para aquellos estudiantes o familias que no tienen tanta capacidad para actividades internacionales?
Bueno, yo te podría compartir un poquito la experiencia de, nosotros tenemos entre los asociados lo que se llaman los colegios de alto rendimiento en el país. Son los colegios públicos, digamos, que hacen programas internacionales. Hay 25 colegios en el Perú. Y curiosamente, hace poco encontramos a una estudiante que es miembro del Consejo Juvenil del IB a nivel mundial. Es una de las 12. Entonces le preguntamos cómo hizo, porque obviamente el colegio mayor no está destinado para gente con altos recursos. Y ella se puso a investigar y fue muy interesante. Descubrimos que tenía 2 premios internacionales antes y busca sponsor y patrocinadores. También hay muchas oportunidades en el mercado empresarial, no necesariamente que vaya a acudir, que auspician a estudiantes que quieren definitivamente tener oportunidades internacionales. Otro consejo y en verdad sí hay muchos chicos que encuentran oportunidades y no sabíamos que existían tal o cual premio o qué sé yo, galardón o oportunidad de beca o incluso ganan dinero, consiguen proyectos que son reconocidos y les dan dinero. Por ejemplo, acá tuvimos un proyecto en este colegio donde los chicos hacen acción social de un pueblo que está más o menos a 3 horas de la ciudad y recibieron un premio de 2.000 libras para poder continuar el proyecto. Esa es una primera entidad, una primera forma, perdón, y la siguiente tendrían que, de alguna manera, como nosotros lo hemos hecho, no es que tengamos un gran presupuesto tampoco, pero buscamos muchos aliados estratégicos que de alguna manera a través de convenios nos facilitan, nos ayudan a encontrar este camino para poder accesar a todas estas oportunidades, ¿no? Entonces, ese sería el consejo que le daría. No necesariamente es una cuestión de tener familias con altos recursos. O sea, hay chicos que literalmente les cuesta viajar, pero de alguna manera encuentran auspicio. Esa es la palabra, auspicio, ¿no? Para poder seguir el camino.
Gracias, los aprecio muchísimo. También tengo varias preguntas, pero las podríamos quizás contestar por correo electrónico.
La mala lo vas y encantado.
Mil gracias, Luis. Now, in English, it's going to be this question for Aberystwyth University and Harriet. This question is about, someone is asking, is your university accepting students with the IB curriculum, and how can we access to your summer school and opportunities in your university?
Absolutely, yes. We very much accept the IB curriculum. So we are very familiar with the IB. Very happy to take students who have studied the IB. In terms of the summer school, if anybody's interested in finding out more, I mean, Paolo is the expert in the summer school at the moment. So if anybody wants to find out more, you can get in touch with Academic Action. Because there's a process of sort of aligning schools to make sure that it will be the most streamlined kind of process in terms of getting students to the university, and Paolo's help has been really fantastic with that. So please do get in touch with Academic Action, who we're working in partnership with.
Lovely, thanks so much. The next summer school will be from the 28th of June to the 13th of July. So we still have some places available for schools. So please contact us for this amazing opportunity. And thank you so much, Harriet. This is not going to be the last time we're going to meet you, and it's a pleasure to work with Aberystwyth University. And
Igualmente.
Igualmente, gracias. Thank you. So our last question is for the University of Sheffield. And with us, we have Matthew and also Kay. He's the regional manager at Sheffield University. So, Matthew, the question is, how can a school get in touch to start a PGCE, and there is any chance to develop a specific projects for the school through the iPGCE? How could you advise them to do that?
I would say in the case of something like that, the first thing to do would be to reach out. So if people are interested in applying for the iPGCE, I believe that Kate has very kindly shared the information about the iPGCE program already in the chat. And if they were interested in kind of a specific project and seeing if that would be something that would be appropriate, you could always reach out to me as the program lead, and then we could have a conversation, and I could advise whether or not that would be appropriate or something that we'd be able to support through the course of the program. So I'm very, very happy for my email to be shared. And for anyone who's interested in learning a bit more about the course, I'm very happy to be contacted by email as well, if there's anything that they feel isn't covered or any more questions they have after looking at the program page.
So much, Matthew. Hey, would love for you to tell us a little bit more and how academic action could facilitate all for these support.
Gracias, Paulo. Hola a todos. Gracias por asistir hoy. Thank you so much, Matthew, for your amazing presentation. I agree with everything that you said. I think a couple of things that I would just add. So I have shared the link to the course page in the chat. It does include the requirements. Couple of things I wanted to highlight is that we've tried to make the application process as accessible and easy as possible. So we do not require you to provide any references. We don't require a supporting statement. You can apply directly through the university website. And of course, it's free to apply. The requirements are for your a minimum of the equivalent of a 2-1 in an undergraduate honours degree. So depending on how your undergraduate university has calculated your GPA, that's usually around 70-80%, 8 out of 10, a B kind of qualification. We also can accept your application if you have a slightly lower academic background, but you are actively working, teaching, as many of the applicants will be. So please do go ahead to apply, get in contact with us if you have any questions. The other thing I wanted to mention, I will put my email address in the chat as well as Matthew, and then Camilla has very kindly shared the education email address. We also are partnered with Academic Action, and please do reach out to any of those contacts with any queries that you have. And also just very quickly to address Philippe's comment in the chat about Colombia and Latin America being very US focused. We do try to visit Latin America as often as possible. I would say the challenge we sometimes experience is just from a cost perspective, the budget from the university. But we are working with Paulo and Academic Action to do online events like this to reach a wider audience, which can be very accessible. I think that the UK has some really excellent advantages and selling points for students. We have a long history of welcoming students from Latin America. It's a very diverse background. It's a very high level of qualification. And in terms of the scholarships and the grants, as well as our automatic scholarships, we do have partnerships with Latin American government sponsors as well. So Colfuturo, Pronabec, Tahiti, etc., depending on the country in Latin America. So definitely, if students are applying for in-person study, do look for those opportunities on university websites as well.
That's it. Thank you so much, Kate. Muchas gracias a todos. Aprecio muchísimo tu tiempo, su colaboración y por creer en esta oportunidad. Continuamente Academic Action está facilitando oportunidades como estas para conectarles con instituciones, para crecer profesionalmente y para ayudar a los jóvenes. Si quieren más información, nuestros datos estarán en el chat. Y bueno, les deseo una feliz noche. Thank you so much, everyone here in the UK, and Matthew, Kate, Harriet, Sabrina, Louise, because you help us, and it's great to have your support in these activities. Have a lovely evening, and I can see you soon.
Bye.
Muchas gracias. Adiós.